right, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. Hope your weekend was good. Welcome. This is the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. My name is Ginika Olwaha. Now, today on the program is going to be a double-barrel discussion this morning. First, we'll be handling an issue on the health sector, specifically the rising case of cholera outbreak in some parts of the country, and how Abia State is getting set in case of any eventuality. As you know, they say health is wealth. Now, on the other hand, we will look at the federal project, which has generated a lot of controversies recently based on who attracted the project. And that road project is at the Akara Absu Road in Isukwata local government area. Well, I'm sure you'll be saying, why are we talking about who attracted it? It's all about politics. Of course, you know that the more road projects you attract, the more supporters you get ahead of the next general election. But these are our concerns of today's edition of the platform, the pinnacle of all discussion. Welcome once again. Okay, we have the Pamsec back on the line. Good morning, Pamsec. Thank you so much for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine.
All right, welcome. Okay, so let's talk about this issue of cholera in Abia State. What is the situation like? Do we have any recorded case so far in the state?
I'd like to state clearly that we don't have a cholera outbreak in Abia State. However, there have been cases, suspected cases. Since January, 1st January to today, we've had about 109 suspected cases. 23 samples were collected. 21 came out negative with a rapid diagnostic test just on the spot. Usually when the samples are collected, a test kit is used to check whether it's positive or not. So out of the 23 samples collected, 21 were negative, while 2 came out positive. Then there's an extra thing we do. We send them to the National Reference Lab for confirmation. Those 2 came out negative. So we don't have a case of cholera in Abia State. That's the indication. And we don't have an outbreak of cholera in Abia State till date, from January 2024 till date.
Okay, so when you say a suspected case and a confirmed case, can you differentiate between the two?
Okay, when people stool or vomit in our environment, people will just say, person has cholera. So they flag it off and call the facilities. When they call up the facilities, our surveillance team will go to those communities, and their aim is to investigate and find out whether it's true or not. So when people have stooling and vomiting and they call out, it is suspected until it is now proven. Confirmed case of cholera is when you have done the test and the results came out positive. That's the difference. In suspected cases, it's not been tested. And when it is tested and it's positive, that's when we now say it's confirmed. So usually in our environment, they say when somebody is stealing, the person has cholera. But that's not actually true until it is proven to be positive. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this particular disease, cholera, because we've been hearing for some time now, some few days ago, we've been hearing that some cases have been recorded in some parts of the country. And of course, this is Nigeria. You can't restrain people's movement, and all that. Let's look at, the sensitization. What should people be aware of in terms of this particular disease? Are there things they are supposed to do or things they are not supposed to do? Maybe you can bring us up to speed as regards to this.
Yes, I'd like us to know that cholera is associated with poor hygienic conditions and poverty. People that live in very poor conditions, they may have outbreaks of it. So it starts with our sanitation. We need to have improved sanitation. Then diseases move with persons. For instance, like we have cases, outbreak in Lagos, when people move from one location where it is and move to another location, they move with pathogens and can move it to another place. So when we travel from areas where there's cholera outbreak, people need to be careful, more sensitive with their hand washing or sanitizing with all those are hand sanitizer like we did during the COVID time. Then we improve our living condition. People should dispose of refuse properly. They also don't engage in open defecation. You know, in some areas, people just go out there in the bush or poo in the gutter or at the back of their houses, or even in buckets that they use in preparing things in the house. Like the suspected case we had in Ecuador. By the time the surveillance team went over there, they realized that their toilet was filled up and buckets that they were using for washing clothes, they were also using it to pass fecal matter and throw it away in the morning. So we need to be more careful with our sanitary conditions, wash our fruits that we take fruits raw.
Yeah.
So before we ingest the fruit, we wash them with clean water. Sometimes we even advise use salt to clean up the cover of it and any dirt that is on it, and wash it with clean water. Make sure if you're eating out, there are times we need to eat out. We travel a lot and we eat out, or we are out of our home, we need to eat out. Make sure the food is served hot. As it is hot there, right in front of you, it cools down before you eat it, so that you won't see yourself taking in food that's already been contaminated. Now, for these cases of outbreak across the country, what we're doing now, we are sharing some education materials, what we call the IEC, Information Education Communication Materials, to the facilities like the primary health centers in the villages. We sensitize them and tell them they need to step up with their sanitary conditions and their handling of the food and their hand washing and their defecation. So those things are enumerated in the flyers and the materials we share. Then each opportunity we have, and with a patient, or even in churches, in schools, we also talk to them. For instance, I had an opportunity to minister in an Assemblies of God church yesterday. At the end of my administration, I took that just 2 minutes and talked to them about cholera and the importance of living in highly in hygienic conditions. So that's what we do at this moment. We communicate the risk involved in the disease. If people can take the precautions, they won't have it and they won't come down with the germs. Yeah.
So let's look at government preparedness to combat this disease in case we have an outbreak here. What is government doing in this guy? You just talked about the issue of having clean water. I mean, when you go to rural areas, of course, you'll agree with me that some of them may not have access to potable drinking water. And even some of them may not have good toilet facilities, you know. They defecate everywhere and all that. What is government going to do in this regard? Because it's all about, making sure that this disease does not get to Abia. And if it does, we should be able to combat it.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much. So the government of Dr. Alex Oti is very committed to the health of our people. The first time in the national media, they heard about a particular report, I think it was in this day, online, and they said 36 states of Nigeria have cases of cholera outbreak. And they now numbered Abia as third online, and that means Abia had contributed to the load of 90% of the cases that was recorded across the country. So it raised some eyebrows, and the government at the center was alarmed and said that we need to prove this thing. It is really true. But for us in the health sector, if there's an outbreak, there's no way we will not be aware of it. So we had an emergency meeting on Saturday.
Okay.
I need to emphasize that there's something we call cholera situation report.
Okay.
It's reported every week in our facilities at the primary health center through the state EPID and the Department of Public Health and Disease Control. Every week we have reports of the status of the state. So those reports didn't come up with any cases or outbreaks. So when the governor heard it, they communicated to us. We held an emergency meeting. Myself, the SA to the governor on health, and the emergency operation committee, the response team that are involved in cases of outbreaks. So we held a meeting, analyzed the circumstances, and came up with the data that from January till now, we had suspected cases of 109 cases of cholera.
Okay.
When I mentioned suspected cases, it means that somebody just stood or vomited and they started shouting that it's cholera.
Okay.
But when we went and investigated, we realized that it was not true. So it's actually good that they report early. So we had that meeting, came up with some resolutions. So for communities that don't have clean water, we have plans that government will interface with the community or the mayors in that local government so that boreholes can be sunk for them and they have access to potable water, clean water, running water. Then for communities where they don't have toilets, standard facilities for defecation, there's also a strategy we arrived at that such communities will be attended to so that it will enforce it that the communities should have a toilet wherever they have a market or even in their settlements and their villages. They should be able to provide a toilet and not people to engage in open defecation. That's another resolution. Then we also will be having meetings, regular meetings to analyze the situation report so that we are not caught unawares. We don't have a case now, but we need to be red alert, proactive, and have a standard operational plan. That if there's a case of cholera now, and it goes to a facility, the people should be able to, the health workers, they should be able to attend to it. And right then on Friday 14th, I sent out a memo to all our health facility heads and told them that they should be on red alert and proactive. So in case there's a case of vomiting or stooling, in cholera, the person might not even vomit, it could just be stool. And the characteristic stool is stool we call rice water stool. When you boil rice and you're washing it, that color of whitish rice. And that's how the stool is, and it continues until the person dies if there is no intervention. So I escalated it to all our facility heads, sent out a memo to them and said everybody should be on red alert. Whether you are an officer in charge of a health center, whether you are in charge of a tertiary health center, or you are in a general hospital, everybody should be red alert to watch out for it. So if there's any case, even if it's stealing for once or twice, the person should escalate so that people, the instruction I gave us, I don't want to hear that anyone died, not when somebody has already died and we start responding. No, I don't want to hear that any citizen died, and that's why we need to be on our toes to ensure that every case, if any case that comes in, even just stealing once, let the person go to the facilities, and that was what I carried in that mail. So we'll be having our meetings frequently so that we'll be ready, and we don't pray that cholera will have a cholera outbreak in Nigeria, but if it does happen, we also had an engagement. The SA on Health reached out to the governor. The other prayers we made, like providing contingency fund, so that if there's an outbreak, we'll have something to fall back on and provide the commodities that we need. We already have some, but we just need a backup. The dimension of outbreak we have in the nation, we need something. We need to support, to have support from the government, and that's what we're doing. Then the Ministry of Health brought out a press release. I'm sure you may have heard it on air. I listened to it this morning. We had a press release telling the citizens that we do not have cholera in Abia State. We do not have an outbreak, but the interventions, those precautions, preventionary measures, people should participate in it. Then we have our jingles too, jingles on cholera. We're already prepared. We have been airing it frequently, front loading it before the peak time, like before news. We send them out. I don't know whether your radio station has gotten yours, but I was listening to it in this year. So those are things we are doing so that the populace, they listen to it very often. And one thing about jingles and songs or rhymes, when you listen to it, you tend to internalize it. It has a memory in you. But if it's just something you read, you might forget. But as you listen to the jingle, it's sweet and it creates a memory. So these are things we are doing already.
Okay. Yeah. So let's look at those primary health facilities in rural communities. Of course, I'm sure you must have seen that in some cases where they will tell you that they do not have adequate medication to attend to some of these, diseases. I mean, in the issue of cholera, I know that now that you send out a kind of red alert across your primary health facilities across the state, do we actually have enough medication to address any case that may come up?
Okay, thank you. What generally we need is free replacement than antibiotics. For facilities that do not have, what we are encouraging them to do through the Executive Secretary Primary Healthcare Development Agency is the one that is within his jurisdiction. So what we encourage them to do, we escalate it. We don't wait till your commodities are exhausted before you get into a scenario. There's a need and the supplies are not there. So we tell them escalate. When you don't have any supply, escalate. Some facilities have. Those that don't have are usually those ones, maybe they don't have a frequent cases. So in that briefing, we told them when you don't have facilities, if it's running out, escalate to the primary health primary health care development agency. It's available, and there are funds that will be released to replace those things. But there's no way we can know, especially except when we go on supervision. That's when we can tell. So if the officers in charge of the health centers notice that their commodities are declining, are being exhausted, they should escalate. They don't need to wait till there's a case before they escalate. So that's what we make clear to them. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at those symptoms of cholera in case one starts experiencing them. I mean, does it have an age bracket that hits more, or can anybody pick it, or is it a child kind of disease?
It can affect anybody, but the people that are more vulnerable are children 0 to 59 years, under 5. Yeah, then elderly people, because their immune system is declining. As we get on in age, our immunity has a way of dropping because of the changes that come with aging. But then women that are pregnant, there's also some changes in the dynamics of their immunity, so they are also vulnerable. However, it can happen to anyone. You might be a big shot, but you come in contact with a contaminated food, the person comes down with it. So that's why we say the symptoms, one, you could ingest something, you could have eaten food, and at some hours after it, you notice the stooling, and the characteristic stool is rice water stool. I hope we got all that. Yeah. Like that color of water after washing rice, that's rice water stool. They could be vomiting, or they may not be vomiting. You don't wait to experience vomiting before you say it's cholera. As soon as there's that passage of loose, that watery stool, and sometimes it's effortless diarrhea. The person the stool will just be trickling out of the person. It's one of the most embarrassing circumstances anybody can go through.
It cannot be controlled?
It cannot be controlled. That's terrible. That's why when they lose fluid like that, the next thing that happens, the person becomes dehydrated, then the person's blood pressure drops, and the person might enter into a shock if the person doesn't get medical intervention real fast. That's why we say when a person passes the first, second area, escalate, move the person to the facility. However, we advise our mommies in the house, people in the house, everybody at home should know how to prepare oral solution, or even have the sachet, because that's a lifesaver. As person is using fluid, it should be replaced. At least if you can't get help immediately, just be replacing the fluid with oral salt solution. Generally, we prepare it with 5 cubes of sugar and a level teaspoon of salt and clean water, and then you mix it up. You give it to the person. As person is passing to, you're replacing.
Is it a warm water that you mix it with, or a cold water?
It can boil. You can boil your water cold, or you get clean water if your water is clean. But if it's not clean, you boil the water, then cool it down, then mix up. Then it lasts for 24 hours. That person should be taking it copiously, just replacing every fluid fast as you're moving the person to the facility. Don't just take at home. And the case we had in Ikuano a couple of months ago, it was a 6-month-old baby, and by the time it was daybreak, the boy has already been severely dehydrated and he died. Then his elder brother around 2 years, when I had it, what I did, we had to escalate to the general hospital in Ikuano, and we got some commodities, some IV medications, antibiotics and fluid, and drove down to the place. By the time we got to the general hospital, the baby has already been taken in, and they have set up a line, and that was what saved that 2-year-old boy. In 24 hours, he was already responding. The stooling has stopped, and that's it. So the time of intervention is very important, and the quality of intervention is also very important. Don't keep the person at home. Take the person to the facility. Let's start with oral rehydration as you move the person to the facility. Very important. Time matters a lot, and nobody needs to die because of cholera. No, there is a killer, and nobody needs to die from cholera.
So, let's assume that the person notices all these symptoms. Can he reach out to the Ministry of Health and all that if they don't, maybe they can't assess the primary healthcare facility around? Or is there any number they can call, for help and all that?
Yeah, there's a number. The state epidemiologist can be reached out so that they can send in the surveillance team, or the director of public health and disease control can also be reached. I don't have her number often. Okay. I'll send them to you, so that maybe you can air it and tell our people so that you can reach out to them and get help speedily. Yeah.
All right. Let me sincerely thank you, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Ifeinwa Umakalo. Thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ginika.
All right.
I like to say that prevention of a disease is cheaper and better than its cure. Yeah. The burden of taking care of a cholera patient is huge. Not just the patient is at risk. The caregivers are at risk, the healthcare worker is at risk, and the life can be lost. So there's nothing as terrible as that, losing a life. You never see that person again. So we need to prevent it, and remember, prevention is cheaper and better than cure.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor, for speaking with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ginika.
Thank you so much.